So one of the really wonderful rewards I get for how I've chosen to focus on work like this is I get to meet and work with my heroes. Some of my old heroes and current heroes, the yes men. Come on up. I've been watching this stuff for years and showing it to my friends, and then Chris and I drove like 6 hours out of our way to go meet them at a fundraiser and impress them with our willingness to do that. So they joined our advisory board, and one thing that I really love about what they do is they're funny as hell, and that's really important as we have to laugh about the shit that's happening here. So thank you. Take it away.
Okay. Wow, thank you. So now you've laid down the gauntlet, and we have to be funny as hell. Hell, a place of fire, brimstone, funny place. We want to thank Mutually Networks, plural, right? For bringing us here and for putting us, it's really an honor to be on the advisory board for this thing that clearly self-advises. Right? I mean, everybody in a way, the entire network advises itself, and so it makes our job so easy. Being on the advisory board. I mean, we also have a nonprofit organization of our own for which we have an advisory board. It's called the Yes Lab, and we train people in meaningful mischief, in promoting things like the Mutual Aid Network. And so anyways, it's fantastic to be here and to see all of you and hear some of the stories of what's happening around the world, in the world of mutual aid networks, this new word, this set of terms that comes to encompass a bunch of things, including alternative currencies, including all of these amazing sharing, skill sharing, property sharing, entity sharing, polymorphously perverse, polyamorously progressive ways of dealing with the world in a place where we have so much, property and crackdown and lockdown to oppose. So, with that in mind, oh my goodness, who's that on the screen? Who, where? I have no idea. Somebody's sleeping. Yeah, we're gonna show you some funny videos. At least we think they're funny sometimes. And they have a point. This first one, what should we say about this? Well, okay. I think a lot of you are here because you're trying to imagine ways out of a system that is so repressive, that is so locked in to a set of dictates. It's like the programming has already been determined, if X then Y. It moves forward. And it's called the market. I mean, we're locked into this market. We are in the culture of capitalism. This is the thing that anthropologists are now studying. They got, finally, about 100 years too late, they got tired of studying, the so-called small-scale societies and turned their eye upon us and what we're doing and how we're destroying the planet. Right? It's a little late, but better late than never. Now they call it the culture of capitalism. It's pervasive and it's global, and it creates this inexorable march into endless growth. And it's totally fascinating as a field of study, but it's also really easy and kind of stupidly easy to think of alternatives and different ways to do things. And it's not easy to put them into practice, and you guys are actually doing that. You're on the forefront of actually what might save us one day. But it's really easy to think of alternatives, and here's a case where we were asked to think of an alternative to a really, 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 really
bad situation and came up with one. It's a very obvious alternative, but the difference, I mean, it's a very stupid, obvious alternative, but we were lucky to be able to talk about it in front of 350 million people. So,
yeah, the sad thing about these wonderful alternatives that we can all think of, and you guys are actually enacting right now, is that they don't get very much attention. And so we've gotten ourselves in this strange position of trying to get more media attention for these issues, these ideas, these progressive ideas that are often overlooked. And we had an opportunity. We're going to show you a clip from, is it 10 years ago? It's roughly 10 years ago, a little more, where we were mistaken for Dow Chemical, the Dow Chemical Corporation, and we had the opportunity to speak on their behalf on the 20th anniversary of the Bhopal disaster. And Dow Chemical was, they bought Union Carbide. When they bought Union Carbide, they claimed to inherit their assets, but not their liabilities, including the legacy of the worst industrial accident in history, the Bhopal catastrophe, which killed roughly 8,000 people in one night in Bhopal, India in 1984.
And a lot of accidents happen when you do shit like this. And one of the things that happened with this is we kind of got an insight into why these kinds of things happen and why totally illogical, crazy things like Dow Chemical not having to take responsibility for the catastrophe, it never being cleaned up and so on, why that happens, and you'll see.
Who's movie time, everybody?
Yeah, it's the biggest thing we've ever done. I haven't combed my hair in like 20 years, yeah, really. Like, I think I used to do it this way. Alright. Oh God. Oh God. When we acquired Union Carbide 3 years ago, we knew what we were getting, and today we are prepared to do the obvious. Let's see. Don't think too much when we get there, I think.
And you're watching BBC World. Our main headlines. The world's worst industrial accident is being remembered in India today. It's 20 years since deadly gas leaked from the Union Carbide chemical plant in the city of Bhopal. At least 18,000 deaths are attributed to the leak, and many local people say that contamination has never been properly cleared up.
Yeah. Should I typically just look right into the camera? Okay.
The factory still exists here, and that's been a real problem for the people living here locally. I mean, the site, I've been to it, and it's full of toxic waste. People who are living in these houses, they've all got a story to tell about that day 20 years ago. Many of them lost members of their family, and they say that they're continuing to suffer because of the tragedy. And they're saying somebody needs to answer for this. Legally, what they're saying is they want to pursue the company to try and clean up the site, but whether the company will accept liability seems doubtful.
Well, joining us live from Paris now is Jude Finistera. He's a spokesman for Dow Chemicals, which took over Union Carbide. Good morning to you. A day of commemoration in Bhopal. Do you now accept responsibility for what happened?
Steve, yes. Today is a great day for all of us at Dow, and I think for millions of people around the world as well. It's 20 years since the disaster, and today I'm very, very happy to announce that for the first time Dow is accepting full responsibility for the Bhopal catastrophe. We have a $12 billion plan to finally, at long last, fully compensate the victims, including the 120,000 who may need medical care for their entire lives, and to fully and swiftly remediate the Bhopal plant site. Now, when we acquired Union Carbide 3 years ago, we knew what we were getting. and it's worth $12 billion. $12 billion. We have resolved to liquidate Union Carbide, this nightmare for the world and this headache for Dow, and use the $12 billion to adequately compensate the victims.
Jude, that's good news that you have finally accepted responsibility. Some people would say too late. It's 3 years, almost 4 years on.
When we acquired Union Carbide, we did settle their liabilities in the United States immediately. And we are now, 3 years later, prepared to do the same in India. We should have done it 3 years ago. We are doing it now. And I would also like to say that this is no small matter, Steve. This is the first time in history that a publicly owned company of anything near the size of Dow has performed an action which is significantly against its bottom line simply because it's the right thing to do. And our shareholders may take a bit of a hit, Steve, but I think that if they're anything like me, they will be ecstatic to be part of such a historic occasion of doing right by those that we've wronged.
Just to reiterate what Jude Finisterra, the spokesman for Dow Chemicals, has just said, he says Dow Chemicals now fully accept responsibility for the events in Bhopal.
Great. That's it? Great. Now, they wanted radio. I can tell you one thing. We're not going out of business. We will continue to make profit. We will simply make slightly less profit than normal. But we are doing the right thing. We're comparing here, though, the value of money to the value of human life, and there is no comparison.
It's a good thing to know.
Exactly. I mean, how often does Dow get to, It wouldn't be, I wouldn't want to be a Dow spokesperson otherwise. Good. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to have a serious nervous breakdown now.
Dow accepts responsibility for Bhopal, spokesman.
Where is that?
In Reuters.
Congratulations, your appearance. Everyone here at BBC cheered. It's over now and it's still headline news. Hello, this is Jude. Who has said that? Perhaps they're not in communication with the Dow leadership. Hello? Yes, this is Jude Finisterra. Sure. Right. Sure. Right. Let me just, yes, could I ask you to hold for a moment? Okay, thank you. They know. So now, I guess, I just basically come clean, right? Well, I wouldn't say it's a hoax. It's an honest representation of what Dow should be doing.
This morning, a false statement was carried by BBC World regarding responsibility for the Bhopal tragedy. The individual who made this statement identified himself as a Dow spokesperson named Jude Finisterra. Dow confirms that there was no basis whatsoever for this report.
Well, earlier today we carried an interview with someone purporting to be from Dow Chemical, a company which subsequently bought the plant from Union Carbide. This interview was inaccurate and part of an elaborate deception.
Take a look at this, Dow. Look at this. This is the top of Google News. Dow said on Friday there was no basis whatsoever in a BBC World report saying it had accepted responsibility for India's Bhopal disaster. That's a funny sentence.
The hoax was an elaborate one involving a fake website. Dow Chemicals was quick to issue a series of statements denying all knowledge of Jude Finisterra.
Also tonight's backtracking because of this man.
We're going back to the BBC television studio right now that we were at this morning because they want to talk to us. Well, okay. What do they want to know? Well, let's go see.
So you're related to MZ, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Sorry.
When did it occur to you to pull this off?
It didn't occur to us at all. We got contacted by you guys.
You guys have the Dell share price.
Yeah, I did hear that. Has it gone back up? Or?
Well, the prank which briefly knocked 3% off Dow shares comes 20 years to the day after the chemical leak from the Union Carbide plant in Bhopal.
Today's unlikely corporate humiliation of a US chemical giant was all about reminding the world that Bhopal remains an unhealed sore.
Well, earlier I spoke to Andy Bickelbaum and I asked him what he did when he got an email from the BBC asking him for an interview.
Essentially, Dow has been promulgating a hoax by which they've convinced people that they can't do anything about Bhopal, that they cannot accept responsibility. And we wanted to prove that that was not accurate.
I mean, it is nevertheless a pretty cruel trick to play on the people of Bhopal.
Well,
did you think about the people of Bhopal when you decided to peddle this stunt?
Yes, we did. And
well, that surely is the tragedy of today. You spring upon them the actual hoax that they actually suddenly believe that they have got a payout from Dow, and then, you know, an hour or two later they find it's untrue.
Let's put this in contrast. I mean, we may have given 2 people 2 hours of false hope. Dow has given them 20 years of suffering. I mean, this is
expecting the next knock at the door to be Dow's lawyer?
No idea what Dow will do.
Dow's lawyers didn't call, and millions of people learned for the first time that 20 years on, Bhopal was never cleaned up. But the media also reported that many of the victims in Bhopal cried tears of joy upon hearing the news, and were then bitterly disappointed. Had we actually upset the people we'd meant to help? There was only one way to find out.
Here we are, we're in India. Hey. And this is Bhopal. Bhopal is a big city. There's over 1 million people here. Unfortunately, we heard from a lot of news reports that the victims here in Bhopal were extremely upset because we had raised false hopes about them actually getting some compensation after 21 years. What do you think they'll do?
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's the local custom here? I mean...
We're here at the Sambhavna Clinic, and this place was set up by a bunch of people to help treat the gas victims of the worst industrial accident in history.
So patients come in from here. This is a forum basically where we determine their history of gas exposure, how far they were living, or were they sleeping in a tent that night, and then their severity grade is determined. These are some of the disabled children, and every system of the body has been affected. You know, the musculoskeleton, the nervous system. 40% of the women coming here under 40 have menopause. Yeah. This is so cute.
Hey, oh my gosh. Hey.
We got the news that Dow is willing to pay $12 billion. I mean, first we felt the news was too good to be true. And Dow was too bad for the news to be true.
Yeah.
But still we thought maybe it is true. Maybe they're just seeing sense in this.
Yeah.
I mean, for about an hour, we were under that impression.
Yeah. Did people cry with joy?
I cried.
Oh no.
I know, lots of people cried.
Were you kind of angry at first, though, when you heard it was a hoax?
No, I wasn't angry. Wow.
You think it was worth it?
Totally worth it. We are saying no more Bhopal. What people have gone through here, no one else in the world should go through this.
I think we're in Shivaji Nagar, and it's been a little bit of a maze getting here. A little, what do you call it?
We got lost. That's what it's called. We're trying to meet up with a journalist to interview, and we got lost. Here he is. Rajkumar Keswani broke the disaster story. In fact, he broke it years before it actually happened. So you had already predicted how many times that the disaster would happen before it happened?
In newspapers 4 times, once to the chief minister, dozens of times to the local legislators, and once to the Supreme Court. I'm the most unfortunate person in this world who has got the recognition for his failure. Had I succeeded, it wouldn't have happened.
When you heard it was a hoax, the thing that we did, were you like, what did you think of it at first?
I thought that was a wonderful thing to do. We were put into a situation which we never thought of that would actually happen. So it is just like being in the heaven. Because I'm sure I'm not going to be in the heaven. So if I'm expecting hell, and suddenly someone puts me for a while in the heaven, so I said, okay, thanks.
20 years since the disaster, the poisons left behind at the plant were still leaching into the groundwater.
Communities that you see in red have not gotten a single drop of clean water.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Until now?
Until now. 8 communities are getting about 12% of the requirement. But this is contaminated water. Some of them used to drink, cook, wash clothes.
Dow could clean up their mess, but they didn't. Instead, they spent tens of millions of dollars on an ad campaign to clean up their image.
For each of us, there's a moment of discovery. And just then, in the flash of a synapse, we learn that life is elemental. And in the dazzling brilliance of this knowledge, we may overlook the element not listed on the chart. Its importance so obvious, its presence is simply understood. The missing element is the human element, and when we add it to the equation, the chemistry changes. The human element is the element of change. The human element. Nothing is more fundamental. Nothing more elemental.
This is Kevin Finn. He trades bonds.
This is what I do, sit here and just look at this screen for, 12 and 14 hours a day. It's very romantic, actually.
More than anyone else we knew, we thought Kevin could explain why Dow wouldn't do anything to fix Bhopal. He told us what happened when Andy went on the BBC.
I got a call from my clerk in the middle of the night. Dow Chemical made some announcement that the stockholders of Dow Chemical didn't like because Dow stock went down. The S&P 500 futures went down. I had to go roll out of bed. My clerk's like freaking out because my position's going against me. My friend tells me he thinks it's, some global conspiracy of traders to try to screw us. And, it finds out it's 2 jokers.
The effect of our big announcement on the BBC was that Dow's stock lost over $2 billion in 23 minutes.
This tells me all the news that's happening in the world. So on December 3rd, if I was sitting here watching this, it would say, Dow Chemical decides to settle with the Bhopal people. And people that own Dow Chemical be like, sold!
Everybody we talked to about that was really happy that Dow was doing the right thing. Like,
Sure, okay. I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be. I'm just saying that, sure, it seems like a good thing, unless I guess you're a Dow Chemical stockholder and you're expecting the $20 billion to go towards a dividend to come back to you or to come to buy some new chemical plant, and it's going to these people that, at least at this point, aren't able to get any money. I mean, you could see how they could be upset about that, right?
Okay. The thing is that there was a lesson in that, and the lesson actually didn't come from participating in it, doing it, anything like that. It came from the stock market. Because that happened just before the Frankfurt Stock Exchange opened, and when it opened, Dow immediately lost over $2 billion. In 20 minutes, not the Dow, but Dow Chemical Corporation, one company, lost $2 billion in 20 minutes because they thought, the brokers thought, and the computers thought that they had done the right thing, right? What everybody who's basically sane thought that Dow was doing the right thing. All the people in the BBC studio cheered. I mean, actually in the studio back in the UK, not in Paris where we were doing this interview, but back in the UK, they all cheered. At home, everybody's seeing it. They all cheered. They thought, this is fantastic. Finally, Dow is going to do the right thing. They're going to compensate the victims of this huge environmental crime. The children of their children are no longer going to be sick because of the industrial contamination. They're going to clean that up. It was great news for everybody except for the stock market, which decided to punish Dow immediately. And so, I mean, this for us was a big lesson. It's like if we leave things to the market, which has absolutely no moral or ethical barometer, we are destined to lose. Right? And especially now, when we're faced with climate change, and the market represents more than 30%. I mean, fossil fuels represent more than 30% of the overall market. So we're this crazy machine that's basically hell-bent on doing what it does, on extracting profit and growth. And I don't know, we all know that I think everybody in the alternative, sort of economies business kind of has examined capitalism a little bit and found that it has some repulsive qualities. I mean, the idea that we can keep growing, and that we in fact have to keep growing by 3% or everything collapses, is kind of comic. It's almost like, it's like cancer, which is funny. Everybody's had experience with that. It's funny. So anyway, we took that lesson and we said, fuck. We said fuck a lot of times. And we said, there aren't enough of us. We're just the yes men. I mean, no offense to the man itself, the Utility Network. But there's just two of us. How can we deal with this? And there are a lot of people emailing us saying, hey, we want to do the types of things you do, but for our particular issue. So one day we got an email from these guys who wanted to target GE, General Electric. And they had a plan. They just didn't know, they lacked a few key details on how to pull it off.
Yeah, it was the year that GE had famously not paid its taxes. Along with Verizon and a few other companies, there was a bunch of news about that. And they thought, we'll send out a press release from GE saying that we have paid our taxes. And, we thought, no, that sounds great, but how do you do that? And they said, don't worry, we have a press list. It's got 120 emails on it. And we're like, wait, when we send out emails, it's usually at least 50,000 emails. 120 isn't going to do it. But we supported them, and this is what happened.
Jack, I want you to watch this next story that Lisa Sylvester had. It's going to fascinate you and our viewers. It had all the makings of a major news story. Get this, a major American corporation, out of the goodness of its own heart, donating billions and billions of dollars of its own money for billions of a tax fund, refund, it says, that they want to give to the U.S. Treasury. Here's the only problem. The entire story turned out to be a hoax. Seeing as Lisa Sylvester is here, she got more. Some major news organizations accepted the hoax, if you will.
Yeah, not CNN, but it was activists associated with the group Yes Men were behind this, and they put out a very, very realistic-looking press release targeting the company GE. It's not the first time that we have seen something like this.
It has the look of an official corporate release, the logo at the top, the almost perfect-looking website URL, And a top heading, GE promising to donate a $3.2 billion tax refund to help offset cuts and save American jobs. Only thing, it's completely phony. GE did not receive a tax refund from the IRS and didn't donate billions back to the government. The Associated Press wrote an article based on the phony release that was picked up by several websites before it was retracted. The AP admits it did not follow its own standards. The guys behind the prank, they call themselves U.S. Uncut. Activists Andrew Boyd and Justin Wheatus, who work with the grassroots group The Yes Men. In this case, to shine a spotlight on GE for not paying any U.S. taxes for 2010, despite making $14 billion, $5 billion of that in the United States.
I pay my taxes, why doesn't GE? That's where the impulse came to do this prank. It doesn't just come from us. Every man in the street feels this sort of in their gut, that there's something very wrong here.
In a statement, GE did not respond specifically to the hoax, but said, quote, "The main reason why our tax rate was so low in 2010 was that we lost billions of dollars in GE Capital, our financial arm, as a result of the global financial crisis." This isn't the first time, though, that the Yes Men have targeted corporate America. In 2009, they spoofed the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, holding a phony news conference at the National Press Club on climate change.
This guy is a fraud, he's lying.
They also targeted Chevron, altering the company's We Agree ad campaign. To read oil companies should clean up their messes. We agree.
Well, we call this creative activism. We call this giving a voice to what should be the corporate mantra, what should be the corporate voice.
GE quickly corrected the record, but once a hoax is out there on the internet, it can be hard to rein in.
A lot of times the aim of this type of hoax press release or any other tactic like that is to get it to spread like wildfire and very quickly, because you really only have a short window of time and opportunity to get your message out if your intent is to rattle your target, so to speak.
This trend of activists embarrassing public figures and companies is growing. In the case of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber fired back, filing a lawsuit against the Yes Men for copyright and trademark infringement. Lisa Sylvester, CNN, Washington.
Thanks for doing this. Is there any investigation going on?
Well, there is a lawsuit, though, that the Chamber of Commerce has filed, because in the case with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, they actually use a specific logo. They have all the news conference that have the logo, so there is ongoing litigation.
There's a GE logo there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a possibility, too. We're going to have to see.
We'll see how GE.
Litigation, shitigation. We had very, very friendly representation from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, by the way. And they summarily dispatched the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the largest lobbying organization in the world, that spends $500,000 a day fucking with us.
Not just us.
It actually did take 4 years, but it was 4 years during which time mostly the case was sitting on a judge's desk in Washington. And if you want to know more about that, you can see a little bit more about it in our new movie, The Yes Men Are Revolting. Yeah! Which is not only out now, I mean, you can see it online and stuff, but also it's playing this week at Thursday at 6:30 p.m. at the Central Library. So please support the amazing people who are programming movies at the Central Library. And the library is like an amazing central social space that I think a lot of people are also reimagining right now. Yeah. Woo! Libraries, give it up for libraries. So, lessons learned from this GE thing. The thing that is, I think, really interesting about all of this and all these economic issues is that they do tie very directly to social issues, right? And it's really interesting for us to come here and see how the man is dealing with social justice issues, and particularly, sort of criminal justice issues at the level of like high school students, for example, right? I mean, this is the thing, is seeing that these things are connected, not imagining them as compartmentalized issues that all have their place and their time, but seeing how restorative justice has a role in the economy is really fascinating and compelling. And what we started to do, you saw here this GE project where we worked with an organization who had a goal, and the goal was about publicizing what was wrong with the economy, and in particular what was wrong with giving money back to GE after they'd taken money from us. And so we've been working with a lot of organizations that have a different approach to this, and they're starting from the social issues and they're coming straight out of things like dealing with the effects of very brutal policing, racist policing in our communities. And it's coming over the course of several years. We've come to see that these are the same movement, same issue. And we had a lot of fun working with a group that was fighting against racist policing in our city about 4 years ago. So this video kind of speaks for itself. It's probably the kind of dumbest and funnest project we've ever been involved with. And it's really not our fault. So, here we go. I don't think anybody really has seen this unless you're really scouring our website, so I hope you enjoy this.
Well, it seemed like a joke from the start. If you are stopped and frisked 3 times by the NYPD, you get a free Happy Meal. Well, it was a fake, but the ad and the website where it came from spread quickly online and had some believing it was true. Eyewitness News reporter Kristen Thorne shows us what happened and who was behind it.
That's why we're excited to introduce our new 3 Strikes, You're In initiative. While the NYPD can't stop using stop and frisk, McDonald's can help police reward law-abiding citizens.
McDonald's and the NYPD teaming up to get guns and drugs off the streets seems strange. Well, it should. It's part of a spoof website called 3strikesyou'rein.org.
Every time you are stopped, frisked, and released, simply fill out your name, ethnicity, date and time of stop, and the officer's badge number. After 3 stops, you're in. Bring your completed voucher to your nearest McDonald's and exchange it for a free Happy Meal.
People talk about broken window policing, but we'd like them to think about issues like what happens in a young person's mind when they know that when they leave the house, they're targeted.
Jerry Goralnik and Diva Durant created the site. They're with a local activist group called People Enraged by Racial Policing. The NYPD stops and frisks some 600,000 people every year. Critics say it encourages racial profiling. The department says it's a vital way to reduce violent crime.
We wanted to make the connection between race and bias-based policing.
What's disturbing is their satire could actually be taken as real. Goralnik and Durant put it to the test, sending one of their own into a local McDonald's with one of the fake vouchers.
Stop more than 3 times by a police officer, you get free Happy Meal.
The manager looks at the voucher, ponders it for a second, and then puts in the order. We reached out to the NYPD about all this, but they didn't get back to us. A spokeswoman for McDonald's says she's glad we realized this entire thing is just made up. As for the site, 3 Strikes You're In, it was taken down within hours of being posted because of a copyright infringement. In Sunnyside, Queens, Kristen Thorne, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
So we've shown you some things, video things, and these are, these are all news pieces that we've shown you because what we do is basically help organizations come up with funny actions that give journalists an excuse to cover things. So, the Man Network is incredibly important. And maybe there are some things, some ways that, that could get into the press more, I don't know. It's got to spread for the sake of us all. So let's figure out how to start it. And now, if you have any questions, if you have any questions that could be actually technical, let's say, about doing an action yourself. Like, how do we do it? How does this work? How does that work? Go ahead and ask. We've got one more video, but...
How did you run the network to get you into that downlink? How did you even, what was the logistics for that?
Oh, for the Dow thing, that was an accident. We had set up 2 years before, we had set up a fake website for Dow Chemical, and the BBC miraculously stumbled on that fake Dow website instead of the real one 2 years later on the 20th anniversary. And we don't count on that happening. That's very unusual. With this last one that you just saw, we didn't do that. We sent out a press release just from McDonald's. We registered a website that looked like McDonald's, sent out a press release. The GE one also, we registered a website, sent out a press release to a bunch of people. There's ways to, we figured out different ways to get invited to things or get into things other than waiting.
A lot of the guidelines on how we do these things, I mean, it's all kind of open source, and we make as much as we can available on our website, which is actually the yeslab.org and actionswitchboard.net, which is our new version of the of a mutual aid network for people who want to be involved in meaningful mischief.
Yeah, actionswitchboard.net, and we're launching an 8-week course on to help people develop actions around issues they care about. We've got the first one going right now, it's in its 5th week, and the next one will start at some point, probably in October, so.
And it's not like you all need actions like this, but there are moments when you need to get more attention to your issue in order to get that critical amount of publicity to get over the hump. And that's when this kind of thing is necessary, because we see you guys as doing the hard work of actually fighting in the trenches, so to speak, building the networks, building actual networks that make a difference. I mean, we have this very glamorous job of fucking with shit, but occasionally you need to fuck with shit to make more people aware of the issue at a critical time, like at a time when, let's say there's legislation that needs to be passed, or when a certain number more people need to know about something, and the only way you can do that is either through social media or mass media. So that's what this kind of thing is useful for. It's for pushing something beyond the envelope of the people who are already involved in your network.
So yeah, other technical questions.
How is the training organized when you do this in one place, or just?
No, it's online. It's online, so you can just sign up and telephone, and all that technology. Yeah.
So past and the future, were you guys responsible for Scott Walker saying that he was involved in the Coke Cover?
Yeah. What?
The other one is there any way that we can capitalize on Donald Trump being so popular right now?
It's not pronounced Trump, it's pronounced Duck, Donald Duck. Got it.
Expose Alec and Trump and all of that business?
Sometimes it does itself, yeah. It seems like hard to improve on that. I'm stumped by Trump. Yeah.
Rapper too.
Yeah.
One more video to show. We have there's a lot of great stuff still to happen tonight. Music, more music. And so we want to, have the microphone here.
But go to actionswitchboard.net if you want to, sign up, find some tips on how to do your own action, maybe post your own action, sign up for a course if you want. And there's also documents on how to do these things. So if you do have technical questions in the future, you can get your answers there. And now we'll show another video, our last video, on the same subject as the first one, idiotic solutions, idiotically obvious solutions to the problem. Again, you know, it's really easy to think of what to do, how to fix this thing, how to fix the mess that we're in. And this, I think, is hopeful because of what happens.
Yeah, and since we're not going to speak after this, but there's going to be more music and excitement. If any of you want to talk to us, we're going to be here, you know, sitting somewhere in the room, and you know, feel free to just say hello. And we have free gifts for everybody here. We have these fake newspapers that actually appear in our second and third movie, fake versions of the New York Times and the New York Post, and we'll just hand them out and start them circulating while you watch this film clip about a solution to the energy and economic crisis all rolled into one. This is the final scene of our new movie. Thanks for having us, man.
All right, I mean, cheers. Cheers. To settle. Yes.
We knew there was a way to pull the plug on big oil. Posing as government bigwigs, we would infiltrate a Homeland Security conference and announce that the USA was outlawing fossil fuels and replacing them with renewables. And the best part? The new wind and solar power plants would be owned by native tribes as partial reparations for genocide. This would truly be a second Thanksgiving. His colleagues were nearly there.
Oh my God, you got this. That's not going to be a total giveaway. No. It's going to be like, you know, maybe let's make it a little less like this.
Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
And yes, the yes men have struck again. Earlier this week, members of the activist group spoke at the Homeland Security Congress, posing as U.S. government officials. At the conference, they announced a fictitious new U.S. government plan called American Renewable Clean Energy Network to convert the United States to 100% renewable energy by 2030. This is a member of the Yes Men who identified himself as Benedict Waterman, Undersecretary of Policy Implementation at the U.S. Department of Energy.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here and an honor to be making this announcement here. On behalf of the Department of Energy, I'm very excited to announce today a great new plan. It's beginning a process that will do nothing less than convert the United States energy grid into one that's powered entirely by renewable sources. We're going to do it in only slightly more time than it took to win World War II. American Renewable Clean Energy Network, American, is part of President Obama's Climate Change Action Plan. It will put ownership of energy production directly in the hands of small companies, local entities, and entrepreneurs like yourselves. The U.S. currently generates around 10% of our energy from renewable sources, placing us 113th in the world. By 2030, America will produce 100% of our energy from renewables, establishing us once again as a beacon of innovation and progress and as a global leader in confronting the supreme challenge of climate change.
And there's always this thing of like, well, how long will it last? Everybody asks that, how long will it last? How long will this green movement go on for? How long will mankind use and utilize this energy? And I think about that. And the sentiments of our ancestors that sat in the trees, I'll echo their words. As long as the sun shines, the river flows, the grass grows, the wind blows. We will have energy. We will have these jobs.
That was Gets Crazy Boy posing as an official from the Bureau of Indian Affairs at the Homeland Security Congress. He's actually an indigenous tar sands activist. After the Yes Men spoke, they led the crowd in a line dance. Well, to find out more, we're joined right now by three guests. Gets Crazy Boy, who we just heard from in the tape, posing as an official from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, actually an indigenous tar sands activist. Andy Bickelbaum is with us of the Yes Men. He posed as Benedict Waterman, an Undersecretary of Policy Implementation at U.S. Department of Energy, and Mike Bonanno, member of the Yes Men, and played the assistant to Benedict Waterman. We only have 30 seconds, but this Congress, the Homeland Security Congress, what is it?
This is a Congress that is about contractors who want to get government contracts to do usually things like fortify the border or other homeland security issues. They pay a lot of money to go, and we got in and gave an announcement that the U.S. was going to convert to entirely renewable energy by 2030. This was the Department of Energy. I was from the Department of Energy, and I announced the sweeping plan, teaming up with the Department of Defense and the Bureau of Indian Affairs to convert the entire U.S. to renewable energy by 2030, which is entirely feasible, and everybody was thrilled.
And they believed you.
Yeah, believe it or not, they believed me. This didn't dissuade them.
Congress, this National Homeland Security Congress is lobbyists, military contractors, and they believed you.
Absolutely.
And they danced with you.
Yeah, and they danced with us.
In celebration, they danced.
We're going to have to leave it there. Andy Bickelbaum, Mike Bonanno, and Gets Crazy Boy.
Very interesting to see how this works out.